Welcome back to another edition of the Rundown. And, it's been about a week, but since there really isn't anything going on in the NBA offseason anymore, and football's kind of in the dead period, nothing's really happening, we, just keep going on to baseball. And now in this episode, we're going to do what kind of talked about last week, and that's seeing where every team stands before the deadline. So, how it works, I have 5 tiers here. You got like the hard buyers, the ones that like are already going to be buying, and the ones that already are kind of established as the clear-cut buyers. And then you have the likely ones who are they're not hard buyers, so you don't really know these teams could also go and sell. And then the tweeners, just that's my way of saying I have no idea. Just because these teams are kind of confusing when it comes to the deadline, they could go either way. And then the likely sellers, the ones that are more likely to sell off pieces at the deadline, and then the hard sellers, the ones that are already kind of established as the sellers at the deadline. And I did kind of make a list before this. That way, it's a lot easier for me to do. So, without further ado, we'll just go ahead and kind of start here with. We'll go. Yeah, I guess we'll go in order. So the Diamondbacks, they're going to be in the likely buyer. The reason why, they're in second place in the NL West, which is a very tough division. And then when you get to the standings, the wild card, that's still wide open. And where they sit right now is they sit about half game out, so they're kind of in a logjam with the Cubs, Phillies, Cardinals, and then Marlins and Pirates for that spot. And like the Diamondbacks, they have good pieces, and I could very well see them adding on to it. They could go a lot of ways. They could also sell, but I think that kind of where they are right now is just being a buyer. They do need first base help, so maybe looking at just other options over there as well. But yeah, I think that they're kind of a likely buyer right now. And then the A's, they are more likely towards a sell team, and that is where I have them. I have them as likely seller. Very young team. But there's definitely pieces that that could be moved. Just Luis Severino, Jeffrey Springs, guys like that. I don't really think that they'll sell. They could just be. They're kind of they could be more like a stand pat team. I'm gonna look through the roster real quick and just kind of see who could potentially be moved. Severino's not here, but yeah, Springs could be moved. Jacob Lopez could be a guy to get moved. Hogan Harris, JT Ginn. If they really wanted to be bold, they could always look at trading Shea Langeliers, which is I don't think they'll do. They could trade Jeff McNeil, who's kind of at that age 34 year, like he's getting up there. They could trade Tommy White, who they just called up. There's options. They could also get off the Lawrence Butler contract. He hasn't exactly been playing well, so that's another contract they could move off of. And all in all, I think that like they're not really in a position to where they would buy. They're 8.5 out of the wild card. Langler's name has been mentioned around, but I don't really think they move him. So yeah, they're a likely seller, and then the first hard buyer is going to be the Atlanta Braves, and I mean, this one's kind of one of the more clear-cut ones. They're having a really good year, and just looking at the standings, like they're atop their division. And I when I did grades last week, I was like, I'm surprised with this team, and I didn't think they'd do as well as they have this year. So I think they need to keep that momentum going, and I do think they need to buy, and I think they will. And just looking at going over for the roster, and I mean, they could go out and get almost anything. They don't really need a catcher. Infielders, I mean, you got Albies, Olsen, Riley. I mean, you could go after maybe a second baseman. Could go get corner outfield help. Pitching, you could never have enough pitching. So I think Atlanta's they're going to be hard buyers no matter what it is. And then as we go to Baltimore, they are going to be the first ones in the tweeners, just because they're very confusing. I'm not really sure what they're going to do. I think they're more likely to stand pat. I could see them. They could buy. They could sell. They could buy for the future. I think that's more likely. They could buy for more like next year. Like pieces that they could trade now. They could definitely look at trading Taylor Ward. It's a rental contract, so you wouldn't get as much back as you would hope, but I think that would be a great addition for some teams. And then Adley Rutschman could be a possibility, and then I mean they're a wait and see team, and you got to see what happens. If they do end up adding, they would probably need more the infield / bullpen help, because Blaze Alexander's been he's been a bright spot, but he just got hurt, so who knows when he's going to be back from that fractured left hand. So just have to see what happens, but I'm just with them right now. I think they're a tweener. And then you have Boston, and they are going to be a likely buyer. They've won 14 in a row, and they're one of the hottest teams. They're probably the hottest team in baseball. A while back, I didn't really buy this team. They fired Alex Cora, which I never liked him as a manager, so that's been kind of good for them. But really, I mean, I like what Boston has, and I think they're going to be a buyer. I don't really see a reason as to why they wouldn't be. I mean, do I have faith in Craig Breslow to do anything? No. But now, I mean, it's just they could use almost anything. I mean, looking at them right now, like they're in the third wild card spot. Pitching wise, they could definitely probably use another starter. Could use bullpen help. Maybe they could use another infielder along with Contreras, Durbin, Monasterio. They could use a proven infielder. Outfield, they're fine. But really, I mean, they've been kind of the surprise team as much as like Boston. They're not really a surprise team. They're Boston. But yeah, I think they're buyers, and I absolutely see them making buyer moves at the deadline. And now, the Cubs, they are going to be another hard buyer as well. look, I mean, they've been they've been pretty good this year, and um, they're gonna need pitching. They're almost their entire staff has been hurt. Basically, most, if not all, of the year, they're relying a lot on younger guys like Ben Brown, um, and guys like that. And just they need, if they want to stay in the race, which they're going to be, they're they're atop the NL wild card. Um, they could very well go for the division as well, but they could definitely use pitching. They acquired Aaron Savale. Um, they have Imanaga back, but yeah, they could definitely. They need pitching. They need pitching. That's really all you can say about them. Is just they need pitching. So they are going to be hard buyers, but pitching is going to be the one thing that they need to do. Chicago, the White Sox, not Cubs. We just talked about the Cubs, but for them, they're going to be a likely buyer as well. They've been probably one of the best surprise teams this year. They will probably be looking for starting pitching, and to give them credit, they've been really good with pitching this year. You have guys that, I mean, last year I didn't really buy as being quality pitchers in the big leagues, but just looking at their numbers right now, looking at just things like ERA, like there's quality guys. I mean, Sean Burke and Davis Martin have been two really great starters for them. And then you have Anthony Kay, who's been serviceable. Grant Taylor's been a great arm out of the bullpen. And then Sir Anthony Dominguez, who kind of was a slow start to the closer's role, has done well now. Would I like to see them go and get bullpen help? Yes. I think there's plenty of teams that would be willing to do it. I mean, there's a lot of ways they could go. And I'm really surprised to see the White Sox where they are, but I'm very happy to see it. So they're going to be a likely buyer here. And then go to the Reds, and they're going to be a likely seller. They're open moving expiring players. I think that Brady Singer can be an option. I think Tyler Stevenson could be an option. Eugenio Suarez could also be another option. He was kind of struggled, but he's kind of picked that back up as well. And then Nathaniel Lowe could be there as well. But they are also one of those teams that will probably be looking to buy for next year. Just getting guys that are, I wouldn't say like quadruple A players, but guys that are ready to go, and guys that could be up early and make an impact. So that's going to be something they're looking at. But I do think they're going to be sellers, and they definitely need to get off some of these expiring deals. Yeah, they're going to be a seller. And then next up is Colorado, and they are the first hard seller on the list. And I mean, this one's just kind of self-explanatory. Hunter Goodman is probably the most talked about name from the Rockies. There's other options as well, like Jake McCarthy, Mickey Moniak, Antonio Senzatella. There's a lot of options, and I really think that the Rockies, if they do this right, could get back great assets for this team. Some of those guys, like McCarthy, maybe won't give back what you're looking for, but Hunter Goodman definitely would. I would definitely pull the trigger on that. Mickey Moniak too. I mean, there's options. So but they are going to be a hard seller here. And then we get to the Tigers. They are a tweener, and really this is going to depend on Tarek Skubal. If they want to trade Skubal, I think that would be the best thing they could do, because I don't really see Tarek staying in Detroit. I think he's more inclined to go somewhere else. He's on that 1 year ARB deal, arbitration, so I think they'll be looking maybe to move him, but knowing the Tigers, I don't see them doing it. So for that reason, I'm going to say they're a tweener. They could look at moving guys like Casey Mize, and other guys like that, but they could also be a team that buys. I mean, it's hard to tell with the Tigers. Like, they've kind of been one of the disappointments, but they could go either way. But yeah, for right now, they are a tweener. And then next up is Cleveland. They are going to be a likely buyer, and to be honest, it's just because they're Cleveland. Like, they are never out of anything, and they are just going to be one of those teams that is always going to be looking to add on. They need. There's some things that they do need. Probably looking to add offense. Right-handed outfield bat would be nice. There's a lot of things that they could go and get. But really, just an outfield or a right-handed bat would make the most sense for them. So they're likely buyer. Houston, to be honest, I don't care about Houston, but they're going to be a tweener just because I don't know what they're going to be. They're probably going to buy just because that's how they've always been. But I could see them also selling. I do think they should probably listen to offers on Hader, among other guys. I think that every team should be willing to listen to offers no matter who it is. I mean, obviously there's going to be some guys that are untouchable, like Bobby Witt, Shohei, etc. But you should always be looking to buy for the future if you're not doing well. Like, even buying for next year would be a good strat for Houston, but it's a wide open division there, so I can very well see them buying. But I just don't. Not for sure there. And yeah, so they're a tweener. The Royals, they're a hard seller, and to be honest, it's hard to say what they're gonna sell off. My team, they don't really have any good pieces to move. Maybe Lane Thomas would be the best bet, but they're gonna have to make moves. They're gonna have to trade people, whether they like it or not, and they need to get prospects. They've been very disappointing, and they need to try and move pieces that maybe aren't on the block. As much I love Michael Walker in Kansas City, but they probably need to trade him because he's gonna yield back the most return. He's gonna be the one that brings back the most. It's not gonna be Lugo. It's not gonna be Vinny if they decide to trade him, which I'd be fine with, but they need to look elsewhere. They need to make a splash. But they could also be one of those teams where they're buying for next year as well. Just buying for 27, because this team's been fringe 500 to playoffs the last 3 years except for this year. So they could be one of those teams where it's just some pitching away because they've been hurt all year long. But they are going to be a hard seller as well as the Angels. I mean, it's kind of self-explanatory. They're probably the worst team in baseball right now, and Joe Adell should be available. Reed Detmers should be available. Royce Solaire, Kirby Yates, among others, should also be available. This team is just in a sell-off, and I do think they need to make moves. They need to bring back large prospects, and they need to play for the next few years. So they're a hard seller. And then you get to the Dodgers. They are the most hard buyer team ever. They're going to be looking to add everyone. If Scooble's available, they're going to be looking to add Scooble. The Dodgers are going to be the only team that I'm never going to question them buying, other than the Yankees, which we'll talk about here in a little bit. But no, they're going to be hard buyers. That one's kind of self-explanatory. And then we got the Marlins, and I do have the Marlins as a likely buyer. They've been playing well. They're not going to move Sandy. I think they just need to go and look. I think a third baseman would be best for them, but pitching is also something they could do. There's a lot of things they could do. So they're going to be a hard buyer, and then, or not a hard buyer, but a likely buyer. And then overall, I mean, it's been a great year for them, and I definitely see them buy. And then Milwaukee, which we'll get into now, they're going to be a hard buyer as well. They're always great. But the thing about Milwaukee is they're very much just, they're a tweener every year. They sell off pieces for the future. They buy for the future. That's what they do. They sell pieces that they know aren't going to be a part of their long-term future, and then they buy the pieces that they need. So they're going to be hard buyers, but they're also going to be buying for next year and the year after. So you just got to wait and see with that team. But Milwaukee, in my opinion, are buyers. Minnesota, they're going to be a tweener this year as well. Now, I would say they would be a hard seller, but they have been playing amazing as a ball club. They're around 500. The Central is still kind of wide open. So I could see them very well buying. They need pitching. They could use a lot of things. If they decide to sell, I would absolutely put Byron Buxton on the block. I think that would be amazing for them. Yeah, I would put Buxton on the block. I would put Joe Ryan at least out there to look for offers. Ryan Jeffers, I would definitely sell. There's some pieces you could sell, but I could very well see them buying. I mean, it depends. Depends on how they want to go. So yeah, they're a tweener. The Mets, they have to sell. I mean, everyone except for Juan Soto should basically be on the block at this point. I mean, they're not winning this year. They've spent a lot of money trying to fix this team, and it has come back and blown up in their face. So they're going to be a hard seller, and tough telling, but they probably need to look for a Freddie Peralta trade. Luke Weaver, Clay Holmes. I would maybe look at trading Lindor. I don't think that would happen. The only guys I would maybe look at keeping are like Carson Bench, AJ Ewing, Nolan McLean, etc. But really, they're gonna be a hard seller. And now we get to the Yankees, and the Yankees they're a team like the Dodgers. You expect them to be buying every year that they're in it, and I don't know, the Yankees are going to be looking to add the biggest names. They're going to be looking at catching help, which is Hunter Goodman. They could be looking at Langoliers, or maybe even just a above average catcher like Ryan Jeffers. But there's places for New York to look. They could use pitching. In the bullpen, another bat. Can never have enough hitting. But yeah, I mean, there's ways to go, and all in all, I think the Yankees they're going to be a likely buyer. They're going to be a heavy buyer. Philly, I did have them as a buyer as well. Yep. They're the team that has been one of the more hotter teams ever since getting rid of Rob Thompson. They could be looking for everything. They do need a righty outfield bat since they lost to Douglas Garcia. That could be a team like the Royals. They could send Lane Thomas over there. They could use a fifth starter. They could use bullpen help. Brad Keller being hurt. Taylor Ward could be a fit there. I mean, there's a lot of ways they could go as well, but they're going to be a hard buyer as well. Pittsburgh, for them, I mean, they're going to be a tweener. I could go likely buyer with them. Pitching's just going to be their thing, and it's ironic because the past couple years they haven't needed pitching, they've needed hitting, and now that they've had hitting, they need pitching. So there's a chance they could go and make a move. They're within 3 games, but they're 3 games over 500. They have a chance to make the playoffs, so I could very well see them going out and making moves to buy. But I could also feel like they could sell. There's a lot of ways that Pittsburgh could go. They just got to have faith in their squad if they're going to buy. They have until the August 3rd deadline to just kind of figure that out. But and then you get to the Padres, and what I think is going to happen with them, they're going to be a buyer. Now, they haven't been playing their best brand of baseball lately, but the Padres, they put a lot into their team. They're going to be looking to buy. They're going to be looking to stay in the race. They're within 2.5 games of wild card spot. They have a talented roster. And knowing their GM, AJ Preller, they're not going to sell. They're going to be looking to buy. They're going to be looking to maybe overpay as well. But if they do sell, they could maybe put Mason Miller on the block, which I don't see happening. But I don't know. I think they're going to be a buyer. They would stand pat before they sell, basically. And then the Giants, they're a seller. They're going to be the last hard seller I have on the list. And really, they could go a lot of different ways. They could look at Devers, Adames, Jung-Hoo Lee, Luis Arias, Harrison Bader, among other options they could be looking to get rid of. I mean, they've been a pretty big disappointment this year. They've probably been one of the top 2 disappointments of the year, them and the Mets. So they need to be looking elsewhere. They need to get off the contracts that Buster Posey made this year. So yeah, they just need to look elsewhere. The Mariners, I'm not going to put heavy buyer on them, but I am going to put them in the likely buyer. They're 51-50. I do think that them being in first place is going to lead them to want to buy. I think they should. I mean, the West is going to be wide open. They could use bullpen help. They need a right-handed bat. There's a lot of things they could do. So I do think they're going to be a buyer. Cardinals, forgot where I had them earlier, but I'm going to go ahead and put them in tweener. I think that they could be a buyer, but I could also see them looking at doing stuff for next year. So maybe they do sell some expiring pieces to get guys for next year and beyond that have more control. I do think that that's something they'll more likely do than be a buyer for this year. They're 3 games over 500. They could go either way, but I do see them being they could do both. But no, I think that they'll be looking to buy for next year. They could buy for this year too. They could sell. They're kind of in a spot where they could do whatever. So, and then finally here in the home stretch, the last 4 teams, the Rays, they are going to be the final team in the hardwire. They are, I think they are record wise. They're the best team in the AL. So, with that division, how tight the AL East is now, they should be looking to buy. They could use pitching. They could use another bat. And the thing about Tampa, they have prospects and they will trade. They know how to find guys, and they're willing to go trade for just about almost anyone that they need. So we'll just have to see what happens with them, but they are a hard buyer. It's just kind of more waiting and seeing where they tend to go. And then the Rangers, I think they're going to be a likely buy. I think that them still being, they're 1.5 out of the race. They could use bullpen help and another bat, but I mean, with them, they're sitting one game. No, they're sitting right at 500. So they're so, it's hard to describe. I think they could go either way. I'm not going to put them in tweener because I think that they're more likely to buy than they are to sell. So I'm going to put them in likely buyer. And then the last 2 teams here, Toronto. I do think that they're probably going to be a tweener team. No, I put them in a tweener. That's where I put them. But no, I don't really know what they're going to do. They should look to trade guys on expiring deals. But you just gotta wait and see what they do this week. They can go on a streak and play well, and they want to buy. But they do need to probably be looking at maybe Jeff Hoffman, trading him, Dalton Varsho, among others. Guys that aren't locked up long term, guys that you feel comfortable with selling, are going to be guys that you should probably look to move away. And then, yeah, I just think, I'm not sure what they're going to do. They could go either way. And then, finally, Washington, I think they're going to be a likely seller. They should look at maybe trading CJ Abrams. They could get a lot back for him, and I do think that there's a potential for them to get a big haul from him. Buster Griffin, who just made his return to the MLB this past year, has really been great. They could get a lot out of him as well. He was an all-star this year. He's pitched really well. They could be a team that just has bullpen help that they're looking to acquire. But really for them, I'm not really sure with them. So we'll just have to wait and see for the Nationals. They're one of the more confusing teams. They're kind of like the A's. Like there's guys that they can move, and there's guys that maybe they don't. So all in all, that's the list. Hard buyers: the Braves, Cubs, Dodgers, Brewers, Yankees, Phillies, Rays. The likely buyers: Arizona, Boston, White Sox, Guardians, Marlins, Padres, Mariners, and Rangers. The tweeners: Baltimore, Detroit, Houston, Minnesota, Pittsburgh, St. Louis, and Toronto. The likely sellers: A's, Reds, Nationals, and then the hard sellers. Rounding it all out: Rockies, Royals, Angels, Mets, Giants. So that's going to be where we end today. Just kind of wanted to go over the buyers and sellers. Just kind of wanted to see where we were going to be at. Now, going to August 3rd, which just looking at that day is, just a second here. That's a Monday. So, I mean, I'll be talking about it. I wish there was a possibility where I could go like live and just kind of follow the deadline, but I don't think that'd be possible. So, for that episode, we'll just kind of react to everything. See where every team does, and then we go from there. But yeah, that's gonna do it for this episode. And seriously, everyone, thanks for stopping by. And if you're on YouTube, please like, comment, subscribe. For everyone on TikTok, the likely buyers, sellers, they'll be on TikTok. Post them here after a while, and then Spotify as well. Follow for more. Do this for now once a week, maybe once all the sports pick back up. Football and basketball. We'll also look at doing 2, maybe 3 episodes to cover each sport. But yeah, that's gonna do it for today. Hope you guys have a great day. Peace.